particular interest in the Ma'afa and then into religion. And as I studied the religion, the truths began to unfold. And as I turned the pages, I began to learn about the Divine Mother. And I was like, wow, you look at the whole of our history, you see our people are continuously worshiping the Divine Mother. And at a specific point, that discontinues, and then we see in public the white Mary. And then what we see in regard to the black woman are some variation of these stereotypes I'm about to throw at y'all. So then how do you kill the Divine Mother? Now, it was necessary to destroy the Divine Mother concept in our popular culture, and most importantly, in our subconscious mind. Without the destruction, the murdering of the Divine Mother, then white supremacy would not prevail over our people. You may have heard people say, we had the land, they had the religion. They gave us the religion and they took the land. Right, and with that came the destruction of the Divine Mother. So let me get right into it. How do you kill her? How do you destroy the concept? In our spirituality, in our subconscious mind, and our everyday social relations. You impose stereotypes on the people. Now, this one, I had to show you this image is here to the far left. I don't know if you can see it very clearly, but it's a woman, like a hefty black woman, and she's breastfeeding a white child. This is after slavery. This is like a short period after slavery. But even though slavery left, the social relations are still with us today. So she's a wet nurse, and what she's doing, she's nourishing that white child. And that's really part of what the mammy stereotype, and of course, some people find it comfortable to jump into the role of one of these stereotypes because that's what society expects for you. It's kind of like making the sinking ship ride comfortable. You accept a stereotype and you live up to that stereotype, even though that particular stereotype is diminishing you. So here we have Hattie McDaniel, first black woman to the far left. Man, I can't remember her actual name, but the character that she plays is a character called Sapphire. And she plays this character on a very old, was a radio program, and then it became a TV program called what? Amos and Andy. I knew some of y'all elders in here would know it. I knew it. And her personality, very mean-spirited, very deceitful and destructive. As a matter of fact, the main character, one of the episodes, is based on Amos and Andy believing that Sapphire, which is the character on the show, that Sapphire was trying to kill them. And then, of course, you see the perpetuation of this stereotype, Monique. All right, so, right, and Precious. Sapphire is another plantation-derived stereotype. And then, of course, we have Jezebel. And don't get mad at me about scandal. I'm just trying to make a point here. But in the cage, here is Grace Jones. And it says, "Do not feed the animal." And there she is, depicting herself as an animal. Now, I don't know, who has seen Grace Jones in the film The Sapphire stereotype, as well as the Jezebel stereotype? Why? Why the character assassination of the black woman? Because they know what comes from your womb, black woman. Now they know who comes from your womb. That is the Messiah. So let me share a little bit of why I say that. In 1968, the head of the FBI, J. Edgar Hoover, issued something called the COINTELPRO counterintelligence program designed at black hate groups, or as they call them, black hate groups, but we know that they were freedom fighters. And here in the second point of the COINTELPRO memo here, created in March of 1968, it says, the objective of their program, the objective of COINTELPRO, the counterintelligence program, is to prevent the rise of a Messiah who could unify and electrify the black nationalist movement. So there it is, your federal government that you pay taxes to was using that tax money to ensure that you did not have the proper leadership to fight for your own human rights in this country. And so it goes on. Malcolm X might have been such a Messiah. He is the martyr of the movement today. Martin Luther King, Stokely Carmichael, and Elijah Muhammad all appear to this position. They aspire to this position. Elijah Muhammad is less of a threat because of his age. King could be a very real contender for this position should he abandon his supposed obedience to white liberal doctrine, i.e. nonviolence, and embrace black nationalism. They're afraid of black nationalism and still afraid of black nationalism today. Carmichael has the necessary charisma to be a real threat in this way. Therefore, it should not come as a surprise to you that all of a sudden he dies from cancer. Because I remember I met him at TSU. You know, he was vibrant. And soon after that, he was dying from cancer. And then I'll just throw in this little next one just to give you an idea of what's really going on. The third one, prevent violence on the part of black nationalist groups. So that to say, to ensure that we maintain a nonviolent approach. And then we all need to hear this fourth one right here. My primary point was number 2 right here, but I have to mention number 4 because of the relevance to our situation. Prevent militant black nationalist groups and leaders from gaining respectability by discrediting them to basically to discredit the leaders. And then it goes on to say to prevent the organizations from collaboration. So there you have it, brothers and sisters. They're telling you outright, they have an outright fear of the Messiah. But this did not begin in the 20th century. That has virtually been the case throughout the sum of our interaction with the Europeans. And you will see as I get into it a little bit more from our rib. Right? I mean, that's what they're saying. But we all know that when we look at the DNA evidence, it goes all the way back to a woman who, according to the DNA evidence, who lived in Ethiopia 200,000 years ago, right? And then if we go beyond that and we look at the fossil evidence, it tells us it goes back to a woman who lived in Ethiopia millions of years ago. So there's no possible way that woman derived from man. In our reality, man derived from woman. That in large part is why many people today say that the black woman is God. So I want to share with you a quote from Dr. Delbert Blair, who joined the Ancestors here recently. And he talks about, how central that women are to humanity. Now, most of you know that in the womb, that the child up until between 6 and 8 weeks is going to definitely be a female. You know that already. And then it's the rise in testosterone after that time period that enables that child to kind of come into his malehood. But I wanted to share a quote with you from Delbert Blair. He said, "The penis is an elongated clitoris, and the male testes are the women's descended ovum, now encased within the scrotum of the male penis. The female fallopian tubes are nothing more than the male vas deferens, or the urethra duct, which is both of the fallopian tubes joined together. The male prostate is nothing more than an atrophied womb. So when you look at all of the genetic evidence, the anatomical evidence, it becomes crystal clear that, you know, and you'll see even more when we get into the rise of civilization, that the woman is central to the life of migration of people outside of continental Africa. So this 100,000 years, where is that? Where is that location? Israel, brothers and sisters. The oldest fossils found outside of continental Africa is found in what is today Israel. All right, so up here, when you see the 40,000 years, that's telling you the time period that black people, or the original humans, migrated into Europe. Every place on the planet was black before it was anything else. And that goes for Asia also. So over here you can see the movements into Asia. So were they black people with chinky eyes? Absolutely. Where did the epicanthal folds or chinky eyes, where did they derive from? They derive from the people who migrated outside of continental Africa, who look like the Khoisan people in South Africa today. And if you ever see the Khoisan people, that's Khoi, if you ever see them, you'll see that they have epicanthal folds, chinky eyes. So, and this goes for North America too. So everywhere you look, there was originally humans worship the divine mother figure. That's just how it is, because they know that she is the life bearer. So some European archaeologists came along and tried to say, oh, well, this was not created by a human, but when they looked at it a little bit closer, they found that there's all type of residue on it that comes from manipulation, you know, trying to manipulate it and such. So the Venus of Tantan is about 500,000 years old. The Venus of Baraket, 300,000 years old. This is why I say it's impossible for humans to be 200,000 years old. They're significantly older than that. All the evidence suggests that. And then to the far right, you see the Venus of Willendorf that was found in Austria. Now that hairstyle that she has right there, what is that called? Bantu knots. All right, Bantu knots. So it doesn't get any more African than that. Like I said, doesn't matter where you go across the planet. The original man and original woman of that territory were black people, Ashe. And they tell you that their history began with the Greeks, or that civilization began with the Greeks. But as far as civilization is concerned, the Greeks are Johnny-come-latelys. So one of the ways that I can kind of illustrate this point is by the discussion of the precession of the equinox. The precession of the equinox is a 26,000 year period that our ancestors were well aware of. And in this precession of the equinox, if you're around the equator, you see every 2,150 years, a particular constellation of stars. And there are 12 2,150 year periods. And the process, as I said, takes about 26,000 years, 12 different periods. But also up here you have the polar precession, also 26,000 years, but with 7 different periods. Now, who has heard of the star constellation Draco? All right. But before that very same constellation had the name Draco, which it received under the Greeks, it had a name under the ancient Kemites, which was Ta-ert. Here we see her depicted as a hippopotamus. But why a hippopotamus? Because they are observing the world around them. And what they observe is that the hippopotamus is fierce in defense of her offspring. Her bottom is a lion. I don't know how clear that is. The bottom part here is a lion, but that lion is a deity by the name of Sekhmet. So we have here the combination of the hippopotamus, the fierce defender of her offspring, and then the bottom here, Sekhmet. Now Sekhmet is a goddess, a deity. But what's important about her is that she's aggressive, she's fierce. But she's not doing this like Sapphire just because she's unpredictable, or because she's being a bully. Sekhmet fights in defense of righteousness, truth, order, justice, and harmony, which in this very same time period is depicted as, you guessed it, a woman. Now this is important if you look at the African history and contrast that with the European history, because in African history, you consistently see the complexity of the female deities displayed, and then also you see her depicted as a shero, as opposed to being villainous, which I will get into. This deity is a deity by the name of Ma'at. Truth, order, justice, harmony, and reciprocity. So when we're talking about 12,000 years ago, 10,000 years ago, we're talking about long before there was in Egypt. Long before there was in Egypt. There's not in Egypt until about 5,500 BCE. So this is long before there was which is in Egypt. Ta-Seti. Now how do we know that this is Ta-Seti? Well, for one, we see this symbol, which means Ta-Seti. Right? And then here we see, I don't know how clear it is, but you see a king with the hat of the king, the hat of the Egyptian sultan, and you also see him holding the flail, which symbolizes agriculture. This is long before there was in Egypt, brothers and sisters. But you know when you see Heru, and here you see Heru on top of the Serek, and this Serek is the house that the Pharaoh lived in. So we know that ancient Egyptian mythology comes from the people who live in the region long before ancient Egypt was, we could say, a gleam in their daddy's eye. Not Father, what is it, Father, Son, Holy Spirit or something? Father, Son, Holy Ghost or something like that? Yeah. No, not that. Father, Mother, and Son. Whew. Can you give me some water, please? Thank you. All right. So I want to talk a little bit about the world's first immaculate conception story. And the world's first immaculate conception story is born of Aset and her son, Heru. And in this story, Aset is being pursued by Heru. And Heru is the son of her husband who was murdered. And the uncles, Heru's uncle is trying to kill him. And Heru's uncle is trying to kill him because the uncle wants to become king and does not want him to challenge his position as the ultimate people of Europe and Asia were what? Melanated, absolutely. So then why is it that those people who inhabit the land now no longer have melanin is because of a mutation, which I discuss in several of my books that I have over here. But if you look at this, you see this is what's called the Normer palette. And Normer was the first king of Egypt. Normer was the man who united Upper and Lower Egypt. He created, thank you, brother. He created the country of Egypt. And this palette was actually used to make makeup, but it's one of the world's oldest historical documents. Because here we see Normer, he has the mace in his hand, and what is he getting ready to do? He's getting ready to smite an enemy. He's getting ready to crush his skull with a stick with a rock on the end. So what this means is that the battle has already been won. This is just like a demonstration of power. We're gonna finish them off in dramatic fashion. So how do we know that these are foreigners? Because here we see the picture, the face of the foreigner, and then these little things that you see right here symbolize the marshlands. We know that this is a foreigner. And here you see that hawk holding that stick, and he's holding it up into the nose of that foreigner. So what this is symbolizing is that they are vanquishing African lands. Now you hear when he's talking, you can kind of hear a little bit of pity. He pities them, but when I read this, I always wonder, what would Mary Kyrie think if he looked at the world that we live in today? And what would he say, not solely about the mutants, but what would he think about us? I wonder that. All right, so I'm going to break down this part of what I was just talking about. If you understand this point, everything else will make sense to you, right? Like Neely Fuller says, if you understand white supremacy, everything else will make sense to you. And that's kind of how I feel about this point, understanding the two cradle theory. If you understand the two cradle theory, everything else will make sense to you. So the two cradle theory was created by Cheikh Anta Diop. Cheikh Anta Diop. And the theory is designed to explain the relationship between the Western world and the African world. So in the southern cradle, which would be where our African ancestors originated, you see a focus on agriculture. But the focus on agriculture plays into the matrifocal social structure. So what do we mean when we say matrifocal? When we say matrifocal, what we mean is that the woman is still central, even though we have the kingship. See, the kingships, like this, like Normer and before, here and here, the kingships are not about pedestaling a man. It derived from the culture that was established in Europe some 20,000 years ago. And in this, there is very little appreciation for feminine energy. And why is that? Because the foundation of their diet is what? Meat. There y'all go. The foundation of their diet is flesh. And of course, they had to go out and kill that flesh. And the women were less adept at going out killing animals to eat, but still at the same time consumed food. So now you see here a huge contrast that explains the rise of misogyny. So when we say misogyny, we're talking about contempt of women, right? Hatred of women. And it derives from this social, environmental reality. So you can know y'all may not believe. This is actually in the tomb of Beni Hassan, right? Right? Okay, he said yes, y'all. So if you go inside the tomb of Beni Hassan, this is what you see, which is what we call Mantu arts. right? The practicing of martial combat. But why? Why the practice of martial combat in the tomb at this point? Because consistently you're beginning to see more and more foreigners coming into Egypt and creating a threat to their way of life. So now Kemet is becoming militarized on a scale that it never had been before, or ancient Egypt, for those of you who are familiar with the term. I'm going to use them interchangeably. Kemet, which means land of the blacks, and then also ancient. Unfortunately, I'm not exaggerating. All right, now here to the left we have Alexander. Alexander in Alexander, some people call him Alexander the Great or Alexander the Conqueror. He came into Egypt in 332 BCE with the Greeks. And with them came the whole idea that the greatest love is between who? A man and a woman? No. A man and a man. Right? Yeah. Man and a boy. You're right. All right. So to the right, you see Pandora. And Pandora tells us a lot about the mindset of the Greeks. If you want to know something about a people, look at their mythology. You see in the ancient Kemetic mythology, what does Aset do? Aset, she puts Asar back together again, and then continuously she strives to save her son from his uncle Set, who's looking to kill her son. She's a shero. Even in the Dogon tradition, you see complementarity, masculine and feminine. Even in the Ifa tradition, you see they illustrate the complexity of the personality. You see that with the female deities. But in the Greek tradition, you get Pandora. And what happens with Pandora? Pandora opens the box after being told not to by Zeus. And what is the consequence of that? The consequence is that humanity is beset with hardship. All of the problems that humanity faces is then placed on the shoulders of a woman. Pandora. The individuals who created these books, they're called Gnostics. So a Gnostic, or is now we generally refer to them as the Gnostic Christians. But gnosis means kind of like, yeah, she said power, divine intuition. You come into gnosis, but how do you come into gnosis? By study. In addition to that, dietary discipline, right? So we have, the Bible speaks about kind of like dietary discipline, but that's not a part of our popular culture, right? So you become a Gnostic by coming into your own divine intuition. And so I'll read here a book from the Gnostics. And one of the important things about the Gnostics is they didn't believe that you had to appeal to anything or anyone exterior. They believed that the Father was within you and that you made the connection with the Almighty yourself. Did I mention it was written in Coptic? Tell us the words of the Savior, which you remember, which you know, but we do not, nor have we heard them. All right, so she plays right on into it. Keep in mind, this is not history. This is like, it's allegorical, it's mythological. The first form is darkness. The second, desire. The third is ignorance. The fourth is the excitement of death. The fifth is the kingdom of the flesh. The sixth is the foolish wisdom of flesh. The seventh is the wrathful wisdom. These are the 7 powers of wrath. Okay, so read this, hear this following part. Did he really speak privately with the woman and not openly to us? I mean, unfortunately, this is far too familiar because, even today I'm hearing some churches won't allow women in the pulpit. Are we to turn about and all listen to her? Did he prefer her to us? Now, and then this is where her supporters chime in. Now I see you contending against the woman like the adversaries. Who are the adversaries? The Romans. But if the Savior made her worthy, who are you indeed to reject her? Surely the Savior knows her very well. Therefore, we have no Gospel of Mary, only Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Right? That's the reality of the situation. See, who's that? Who's that?
Eve.
I know y'all see that supple white skin right there. Who is that? That's Eve. Right? With the serpent wrapped around her, with the snake wrapped around her. And this image typifies the misogynistic age of Pisces. Gnosticism, in Gnostic Christianity, there is a woman. However, her name is Sophia. And Sophia is the personification of truth, order, justice, harmony, and wisdom. Just like Ma'at. But when we look at the Greeks, we have Pandora. So by the time the Romans take over Christianity, kill the Gnostics, and kill those Hebrews, although those Hebrews fought back, they're not going to have Christianity with Sophia or any sheroes. Now we have Christianity where, just like with the Greeks, the woman is responsible for all of the problems that humanity faces in the form of Eve. Do y'all see that correlation? So we have African spirituality, and they pedestal the women, or put her on par with the male. Then we have African Christianity, Gnostic Christianity, and then they still put the African woman on the pedestal in the form of Sophia. So you have the ancient Greek spirituality with Pandora, and then by the time the Christians take over Christianity, we get Eve. Do y'all see what's transpiring, brothers and sisters? Just look at their mythology. All right, so on the right, over here, at the bottom, under the wolf, who is that? Remus. The only place the woman exists in that is their mother, Rhea. Their mother, Rhea, was raped by the god of war and gave birth to Remus and Romulus. Remus and Romulus were floated down the river for the purpose of their own survival, and was raised by a wolf. Right? So think about that. Rome is an imperialist, misogynistic nation. Therefore, in their mythology, they descend from a royal god who raped a woman and gave birth to 2 sons who were raised by wolves. And that's the way that they choose to think of themselves in the evolution of their society. I mean, that tells you a lot. Also, I have to mention, also in the Piscean age, this age we're just coming up out of, is our sister right here, Hypatia. Right? Hypatia. Now, Hypatia was a priestess. If you ever go to the museum tour, and you just go right here to the Houston Museum of Natural Science. They're trying to control our ancestors and us by way of controlling our ancestors, trying to do so by keeping us ignorant of our very own story, brothers and sisters. And that is what the burning of the libraries of ancient Egypt was all about. So I want to share a quote from the 5th century from one of the Roman archbishops. It says, "Every trace of the old philosophy and literature of the ancient world has vanished from the face of that was hidden in caves by our ancestors for us." Hidden in caves in Central Egypt, hidden in caves in Southern Egypt, hidden in caves in Israel. The Dead Sea Scrolls those were our ancestors too. For us eventually to acquire them and make the most of it. So that last millennium, that last 2,000 years, it was hard, it was wretched. But as we move into the new age, as we move into this Aquarian age, brothers and sisters, that knowledge is becoming accessible to us. So now the question is really, what are we gonna do with it? Who's it supposed to be on the left? It just look funny though, right? This is supposed to be Mary and baby Jesus. And in the Piscean age, now you begin to see the public depiction of Mary as white. And a major part of the reason why is because we're talking about the rise of racism and slavery. So when we get to the time periods, those 1400s, those 1500s, where slavery becomes the order of the day, with that comes white Mary. On the left, and I have such an interesting story to tell y'all. And it's a true story, brothers and sisters. Over here on the right side is the Virgin of Guadalupe. And there's an exhibit right now at the Houston Museum of Natural Science on the Virgin of Guadalupe. If you go there right now, go to the ancient Egyptian exhibit on the 3rd floor. Just to the right of that is a whole exhibit focused on this one Madonna from Central America from the 15th century. So I went through the exhibit, I saw it. All of the Madonnas that they had were white. Wow. But an interesting thing happened. I decided that I wanted to give a tour of the Houston Museum of Fine Arts. So I talked to one of the curators at the Museum of Fine Arts. Talked to him on the phone. He said, "Okay, well, let me give you a tour of the museum." So he takes me around, shows me various things into the back of the Museum of Fine Arts. Now, what I found out is that 96% of the artifacts that they own are not on display. When you go to the Fine Arts Museum, you're seeing 3 to 4% of the artifacts that they own. So it was so interesting. They wanted to show me the artifacts that they thought were important within that 96%. So they take me to the back, and they slide this big door, and they point something out to me. I don't even remember what it was. I mean, it was a decent painting, but my eyes were stuck on that black Virgin of Guadalupe that was staring me right back in the face. And I'm like, wait a minute. 400 yards, maybe 300 yards, the distance between those two museums. And the Museum of Natural Science, a whole exhibit with dozens of images of a white Virgin of Guadalupe. Then I go into the Fine Arts. You take me in the back somewhere. You slide the board out, and I'm seeing this big black painting of a black Virgin of Guadalupe. So I was enamored by that thing. They were talking about something, and I kept asking them about it. So, I did ask to take a picture, and they gave me some long, mumbling excuse as to why I couldn't take a picture. I did want to get invited back, so I didn't want to just take the picture in his face like that. Just like the Richard Pryor routine. It was that exact type of experience. Like some of you look up the Richard Pryor routine from the Richard Pryor show, where he's in the tomb, he's with the other archaeologists, he goes in the tomb and he sees that all of these black people, all these ancient Egyptians were black people, and then they lock him in the tomb. That's exactly how I felt. So. And it just kept. They wanted to show me something else. They slide out a different board, and I promise you, they slide out this different board, and there's this big black powerful woman on one of the paintings, and that's just two boards that they slid out. So I'm thinking, back there in that 96% are many of the answers to questions that we have about our own heritage. And that's really why that Holocaust Museum, that's 3 or 4 doors down, I think they gave a tour of the Holocaust Museum today. But that is a black-centered, African-centered interpretation in that museum. And we really, if you haven't seen that exhibit, you definitely need to see that exhibit. And I'll say this before I move on. One of the things that we need to work on is our own African Diaspora Museum that doesn't begin our history with slavery. Right? So anyway, the Madonnas of the multitudes, they want you to conceive of in your subconscious mind of the Madonnas as looking something like this. But look what they keep for themselves, right? The Catholic Church is one of the richest institutions in this world, right? In Spain, I just want to kind of show you some of the most famous black Madonnas. Been in Spain since the year 718. Nobody knows for certain how it got there, but that's where it is today. Now this one on the right, the Madonna of Czestochowa. Good, interesting story to tell you about this country, and it was Constantine, who most people know that he fought under the banner of Christianity with the cross. You knew that already, right? Right? Okay. Now, did you know that this particular black Madonna was given to Constantine by guess who? His mother. And she gave it to Constantine in preparation for the civil war that enabled him to become king of Rome. Wow. Right. The black Madonna. So I showed you the popes, and now you know the whole Christian movement, the whole Roman imperialism in movement. The person who led that movement is secretly appealing to the black Madonna, but once again, of course, giving us who? An external savior. Agreed. All right, so let's talk about this, King folks. The correct answer is what whoever is in charge, whoever is giving you that degree, the correct answer is what? Whatever that they say it is. And they say all types of ridiculous things. When you get your PhD, it's not really about the dissertation that you wrote. That PhD is largely saying that this person has basically paid their dues. They know the party line. So why are the Madonnas black? Is it A, because of smoke damage and the accumulation of dirt? No. I don't know about that, because if that was true, wouldn't the whole statue be black? Let's go back to that, brother. Look at that one. Yeah. Right? The whole statue, the whole thing would be black. Here, it would be all black, would be all black. But we see that that's not the case. Can we nullify A? Yes. All right, B. The black represents mystery. All right, that's ambiguous. We're gonna nullify that one too. So the answer, ladies and gentlemen, is C. The Divine Mother has been a black woman for hundreds of thousands of years. There it is, kinfolk. That's the reality of the situation right here. 25,000 years ago, worship you. With that being the case, I cannot understand for the life of me how you could actually worship a man and a white one at that. And I don't know, maybe somebody can explain to me. Maybe not, probably you all can't, because I know I'm amongst the initiated for the most part, but I really would like to understand that. So, why the big secret? Once again, fear of a black Messiah, as J. Edgar Hoover expressed most explicitly. So I want to talk about basically what happens when we begin to come into our own God or goddess self. So I want to talk about a sister by the name of Khepera. So she was a spiritualist. And like I said, every Friday, she conducted the resurrection scene with Africans. But one interesting thing happened with her. She became pregnant. Y'all notice the terminology I use, right? She became pregnant. And in her words, she said, I cannot deny that he is mine. She's talking about her baby. She said, I cannot deny that he is mine, but how I had him, I do not know. I know, however, that he came to me from heaven. All right? So what is she saying? She's saying that this is the chosen one. So what was the consequence of all of that? The Portuguese burned this woman and her son alive. Y'all have no idea how fearful Babylon is of you. Their greatest fear is that you're going to wake up and throw them off of your back. And what happens once that occurs? They can hardly survive because they've been living like vampires off of you. Cultural tradition. All right, I'm just a messenger, brothers and sisters. Keep that in mind. I had to show this to you. Like I say, the character assassination of the black woman is one of the greatest character assassinations of all time. And I'm saying that as an archaeologist, as a historian. I haven't even really started talking as a member of the community. I'm just saying, if you look at what has happened, it's one of the greatest character assassinations of all time. This is from the psychedelic. She's all heart. The rest of me ain't bad either, she's saying. What's taking place here? It's objectification and sexualization.
What year is that from?
I'm not sure which specific year, but I recall this is from the 20s. All right. But take a good look at it from the plantation. And that has to be accounted for by every Negro church that's tithing. I want to share you the white preacher's commentary. Y'all gonna love this one. Well, darkies, I am happy to see so many shining eyes and greasy faces today. I'm not gonna do the voice, that'll be just too much. So, through the economy of God's grace, you transplanted upon American soil. Through much toil on the part of the white man, you are becoming quite intelligent. Wow. The white man has not imparted you to his straight hair, high nose, blue eyes, thin lips, and perfect form. Yet he can't sit in the sun more than 5 minutes, right? And perfect form, it is to be hoped that you have a soul. Wow. By his care and attention and your obedience to his precepts, stand a great chance to be admitted upon the ground floor of God's glorious temple in heaven. Now, I don't know if I want to go to that heaven if I still got to chop wood, serve you lemonade, and all of that. But as I stated, I haven't mentioned it to you, but to become a preacher in the era of slavery, the black preacher has to have the approval of 2 different white ministers. Here in the middle, our sister Sandra Bland, strong sister, 6 feet tall, graduated from Prairie View University from Chicago. Gets a job in Chicago, gets a job at her alma mater, driving down. Eventually, she is taken into custody, supposedly for resistance. Next thing you know, the sister is found dead in her cell, and they say that this sister killed herself. But who's buying that? And to the far right, that's McKinney, Texas. That's a 14-year-old girl that cop is sitting on. The videotape of that incident was videotaped by a white student, a white boy. That white boy said that it was almost as if he was invisible. He said that cop completely overlooked him to go after the black children. And there he is, sitting on top of a 14-year-old girl. That didn't make your blood boil? I know it made mine boil. So this is what we're dealing with, going all the way back to Jezebel, going all the way back to the cake mix box that I showed you. The objectification of the same respect and acknowledgement that you would want to be shown to you. Now, plantation socialization says there's a race hierarchy, right? There's white man, white woman, black woman, black woman, black man in the plantation hierarchy. And how you interact with people depends on that person's place in the plantation hierarchy. I'm saying we need to evolve beyond that. As I say here, acknowledge the divinity of every black man and every black woman until they show you otherwise. And I'm sharing this with you, but of course, once I tell you, in my mind, that means that now you are an ambassador. It's the perpetuation of your own gene pool, right? And before I go, before we end this, I want to kind of close this out with some of the readings that I used to put this presentation together. Because if I research it and I'm sharing it with you, you can do the same thing. Ian Begg's book, The Cult of the Black Virgin, when I was telling you all about how Constantine and his worship of the Black Madonna and how his mother passed it on to him, The Cult of the Black Virgin is where I got that. Echoes of the Old Dark Land by Charles Finch, one of my favorite scholars ever. If you read this book, the second chapter, the whole second chapter is about the Divine Mother. My book, Kemet 101, An Introduction to Ancient Egyptian History and Culture. We have some copies over here. And Gert Mueller's The Black Madonna, Christ and the Black God of the Bible. And lastly, but certainly not least, The Kabbalion, which addresses masculine and feminine energy, but not just in the spiritual realm, not just in the physical realm, also in the spiritual realm. Add these to your collection, and that's it, brothers and sisters. All I can say is just tell you what I really think about it all. And where we are today is not because of the whole of human history. This most recent period, which is the Piscean age, is a departure from human history. The only way that we can perpetuate our own species is to get back in harmony, back into our normal, our original selves here in this Aquarian age. But the cost of not doing that, that is your decision to perpetuate the destructive culture of the mutants. If that is to occur, then that just might signal the end of not only humanity, but the whole of the earth, brothers and sisters. Thank you. Appreciate it.
So,
y'all know it's
observes the way that your presentation presented, and what solutions and what ideas can we as men and as women interact with each other, because when we turn on the television, we see our women denigrated and degraded and disrespected by melanated individuals especially. So what would you have, or what would you offer to us so we can elevate the way we vibrate and connect with each other?
The evolution starts within, right? So what the individual has to do is you have to purge your subconscious mind for those niggerisms. Excuse me, I'm just trying to be descriptive, right? You have to purge your subconscious mind for those niggerisms. And I'm not afraid to talk about myself. When I was significantly younger, what's the first thing? What is it that you look at with the woman? You're looking at her form, but you are not acknowledging her essence, right? So evolve beyond that way of being preoccupied with the flesh, because as you can see in that Gospel of Mary, that was one of the things that when she was speaking on behalf of the Father, that was one of the things that she mentioned, right? Your earthliness, your being preoccupied with the flesh. So I think that's one of the primary things. Evolve your own thinking beyond being preoccupied with the flesh. People, the ancients, they talk a lot about complementarity. That's what the Ankh symbolizes, right? Complementarity between the masculine and feminine, not just in human form, but also in the ethereal form. But how can you find your complement, your spiritual complement, if you're preoccupied with the flesh? So I think that's definitely one thing that we have to evolve beyond. And two, like I said, education for elevation. And so just like you have read that Bible, you read that Quran, you read that Torah, you read so many various spiritual texts, take a look at the Gnostic text, the Nag Hammadi Gnostic text.
Back to Mother Earth, from the root to the crown, Kundalini serve. Squad of ancients, pen ahead and build a curse. Counter hieroglyphics, poet, viral, ultraviolet verse. Never forced the forest, calm as trees, now abandoned church. Nature is the temple, one logic, harmony for first. Abdicators, rearrangement, passing where the past was hurt. Milling in my only shirt, hold up, I won't dare divert. Times when I was puffing perp, had me cloudy eyes around me, detached, now I broke the curse. Hidden treasure, pen around, so how they found it, I announced it, drawing from the source. Triple vision with the council, Merc about a Porsche. You don't follow homework, homie. Orthodox will never know me. Birth from leagues and now they want me, asking if I feature only. If you practice what you preaching, discipline my only teaching. I do it for many reasons. One is for the balance seeking. Warrior on for the seasons. Dream of days when I'm not reaching for some peace found on the weekend. Island Queen is all I'm needing. Drifting with a pair of breezes. But right now I'm rebel reading. Voodoo packing, tiger creeping. Hunting for the beast and secrets lurking. Press the boonie, reaching operative. I'm seeking Egypt dripping. Lucid, alchemic, raw mechanic. Raw light eater, God body, the solar meeting. Pyramid, the source of freeing. Lotus flame, the soul not freezing. Consciousness of Christ, your meaning.
Mama is the earth. The rituals to break the curse, the flesh is made of sacred dirt. They don't know they net worth. Too many laying in a hearse, waiting, praying in the church. Reverse the pain, stop the hurt. Mama is the earth. Open up your mind. I'm hoping you free your time. I'm hoping you see divine. Take heed to the warning signs. You stuck in that suit and tie. Life is passing you by. On that flip side, they slinging coke with the get high. 45s on the waistline, chasing dimes on the outside. Really fives on the inside, deadly toxins on the rise. Liver swollen twice the size. Disease kills more than bullets on the south side of the shy. FDA says shut your mouth, you a lie. As the sheeples fall in line, the crime rate is on the rise. Property value, it declines. Investors know the plan, it's a good time to buy. Kick them out and build a sky rise. Life is full of ups and downs like a skydive. When I flatline, the flesh is gone, but the soul survives. The wise is the one that takes the knowledge and applies. Applying 8-hour apps. They rather risk their freedom just to move a stack, working for self, but they don't know the fact the energy can shift at the drop of a hat. Your whole life is a book of acts. The answer to the struggle, Naga, is to detach. Mama is the earth. The rituals to break the curse. The flesh is made of sacred dirt. They don't know they net worth. Too many laying in a hearse, waiting, praying in the church. Reverse the pain, stop the hurt. Mama is the earth. Mama is the earth. The rituals to break the curse. The flesh is made of sacred dirt. They don't know they net worth. Too many laying in a hearse, waiting, praying in the church. Reverse the pain, stop the hurt. Mama is the earth.